everyone, it's Dianne at Minerva. I hope you're all having a super week. And today I'm going to share a make with you for a sew along. And it's this wonderful shirt here from this Butterick pattern, and it's 3039. So there are lots of different variations you can do in this pattern to make a whole wardrobe selection, but we're making the shirt today and we're going to be using this wonderful Minerva exclusive range viscose chalet, and this particular design is called Feline Fine. Now, as you can see, it has a wonderful graphic depiction of a cat all over it with these beautiful yellow eyes. It's a really fun print. I think it's going to make a super blouse. Now, should you wish to sew along with me today, everything will be tagged below, so you'll have everything you need. Just remember to wash and prepare your fabric before you begin. And when you've done that, we're going to take a tape measure. I'm going to locate our sizing. Now on the packet, it's here at the top. So when you've done that and you're sure of the perfect fit, we're going to go and cut our pattern pieces together. So let's go and do that now. So here are our pattern pieces for our shirt. So this is the shirt front. You're going to cut two pieces. This is a straight grain. Make a note of the centre front and your buttonhole placements. You can lengthen or shorten at this line here. Make a note of these markings at the side. These are for your side vent. And also these markings on the shoulder and at the neckline. This is the shirt back. Again, you're going to cut two pieces. This is a straight grain. Make a note of these markings at the centre back seam, the markings on the shoulders and neckline, and also the marking for the vent at the side. Again, you can also lengthen or shorten at this line here. Here we have our front facing piece for the shirt. You're going to cut two of fabric and you're going to cut two of interfacing. This is a straight grain. Make a note of your notches. Here is the collar piece for the shirt. Again, you're going to cut two on the fold of fabric for this one, and you're going to cut one on the fold of the interfacing. Again, make a note of your markings. Now we're ready to begin making our shirt. So first of all, you want to wind half of your thread onto your machine spool and check your machine needle is sharp. Now today I'm using a universal size 70 today, so you may wish to test this on a piece of scrap fabric before you begin. And then when you've done that, you're going to apply your interfacing to your collar and front facing pieces of your shirt. And then we're going to take our back shirt pieces and we're going to join that centre back seam. Now before I do this, I've changed my overlocker up to black and I'm going to overlock down the centre seam of each first of all. You can do this after if you wish, but I prefer to do it first of all. Then when I've done that, I'm going to transfer my markings, those little notches in the centre back again, to make sure that that lines up nicely. Let's do that now. So just overlock a tiny amount if you're going to do this first of all, because otherwise it will interfere with your seam allowance. So just a tiny slither. Now with right sides facing, pin your two back pieces together, like this. We're going to stitch down this central back seam with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Now, with right sides facing, we're going to place our front pieces on top of our back piece and we're going to pin it at the shoulder here. Now, hopefully you have remarked all your markings here if you've overlocked first, as I have. And we're going to line these up and pin them in position. Do this on both sides. When you've done this, we're going to stitch this in place, again 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. If you have overlocked your edges first, it just makes it easier to press that seam open afterwards, and that will give you a nice neat finish. Next we're going to pin this underarm seam here with right sides facing, and you need to make sure that you match up your notches again, and also when you reach your large circle here, we're going to stop and back tight because this is for our side vent. Now you're going to press up a small hem on your sleeve, so you can press it back 6mm to begin if you wish, and then when you've pressed that, I'm going to fold it again and press up the hem allowance for the sleeve like this. Press it all the way around. Now you can baste that in place with hand stitches if you wish, or you can just pin it. Now I'm going to do it as is, I'm not going to stitch it first, so if you're confident enough you can do it without stitching and just press it in place. And then secure it with a couple of pins, and we're going to top stitch it from the right side. So when you turn up your hem, there is 3.5cm allowed in total, so that includes the amount that you press under to begin with, so 6mm, or you may wish to do a little more, and then the next fold like this. Now when you've hemmed your sleeves, you want to go back to your underarm point here where it curves and go over it again. So you're doing a second line of stitching just in this underarm section for about 8cm. You may find that you want to make this a little narrower also if you feel it's bunching a little under the arm. You can clip into it, but then of course your material will fray, so you'll have to redo your raw edges. So it's up to you how you do this, but if you make the stitching a little narrower and then do your second row of stitching, that will also solve the problem. Now on your interfaced collar piece, you have these two triangles here and here. You're going to reinforce along the bottom of each one and back tack. Then when you've done that, we're going to snip here and here, and we're going to turn back the seam allowance between those two markings. Snip at that point and then press back that seam allowance. Now you're going to stitch your collar sections together, leaving your notched edge open. So we're going to stitch up here, down this long straight edge, and down this side here. Now trim your seam allowance and also snip across the edges here, the corners, but don't go too close to those stitches or you may find that they fray out. When you've done that, we're going to turn it through and press it. Now baste your raw edge to keep it together. At this point, you're going to pin your collar to your neckline, matching up your markings, so your notches and your circles. Your centre back of your collar, you want to fold it in half and mark this and line that up with that central back seam here. And then your markings for your shoulders and these notches here. And this marking here is where the front of the collar lines up. So make sure you've got all of those in place, pin it all the way around and stitch that in place. Now you're going to turn in the long unnotched edge on your front facing piece. Now you can either hem this or I'm going to overlock mine. Now stay stitched between your shoulder edge and your circle here on your facing. Pin your neck facing to the front of your shirt and the neck, lining up the notches here and the circles. So this part of your collar lines up with this circle here, and your turned back seam for your shoulder lines up with your shoulder just here. Pin it all in place and then stitch that seam. Make sure that you leave this folded back bit of the collar here running free. Now I've added in a Minerva label at the back neck here, the centre back. I've just tucked it in, and I'm going to catch this in as I go, as I stitch down the back of this neck collar here. So where we turned under our seam allowance on the neck, I'm now catching it down with the back of the blouse just here. And I will catch the label in as I go. Some of these labels will be linked in with your products, and these say #Minerva Maker on the back. At this point we're going to hem the bottom of our blouse. Now I've overlocked mine. You need to make sure that when you come up the sides here, that you're squaring off at this point here at the top of the vent. So now we're going to create our buttonholes. You may wish to remark your buttonholes at this point, as I've done, because sometimes your markings can rub off as you're making your garment. Now I'm using this machine today because it uses a 4-step buttonhole, and this is one that I prefer. Please consult your manual because some buttonhole functions do it all in one go. This uses 4 steps. So first of all, this one goes back and forth this way to make a bar feature. Then backwards in a straight line. Now you do also want to be checking your button against your buttonhole. Now on the 1-step ones you can often set this before you begin. Now we go back to this step to do the bar across again. And then finally back towards you. So continue making all of your buttonholes, and then we're going to sew on our buttons. Now at this point you can catch in your facing to your shoulder. Now I would suggest trying this on before you stitch it down, just to make sure it's not pulling your collar in any way. Now as you can see here, I found I turned under my seam allowance here just a little bit too much, so I've turned it back a little bit. You might find that you've done the same, and I'm doing this with hand stitches because I just find it's nicer than doing it on the machine, and you can control where you're stitching better. So I've just pinned that in place, and I'm just sewing that down now on either side. Now we're going to sew on our buttons. So I always like to sew on one, button it up, and then mark the next one. And I find that this way it makes sure that your front is all lying flat and even. So I've done the bottom button first of all, and now I'm making sure it's flat. I'm going to line it up and do the next one. So I'll mark that one now. So here is the finished blouse. I think it would also look really well belted, maybe with leggings. Well, I hope you've enjoyed sewing along with me today. I think this is a really fun blouse. Like I said before, I think it would look really nice belted with skinny jeans or trousers. You could also wear it over a bikini. Maybe next time you could try the longer line version in the form of a dress, maybe use a linen. Have you made this pattern before? Please let us know in the comments below, along with any photographs. We always love to see what you've been making. And of course, take a look at the Minerva Craft Club to get 10% off all your orders for a whole year. You can also like and follow Minerva to get more video content like this every week. Now, if you like what I'm wearing today, This is a New Look dress. So it's New Look pattern number 6095, and this particular fabric is a cotton poplin. If you're interested in making this, I will tag these products below also. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope to be back soon with another sew along for you. Bye for now.